Welcome to the UCSF Surgical Skills Lab video learning module on laparoscopic knot tying. In this first series, we will go over the basic steps of the skill, first by reviewing the principles of knot tying by hand, and then go over the differences and similarities when knots are tied laparoscopically. As you have already learned in the basic skills curriculum, the key to successful and consistent good knot tying technique is the setup, which is determined by an appropriate working distance from the knot and an optimal relative length of the sutures, particularly making sure that the tail is not too long. A good setup allows your hands and your fingers to do the work with adequate space and ideal ergonomics. With laparoscopy, the limited movement requires an even greater attention to a good setup. The first step is cutting the suture to an appropriate length for intracorporeal knot tying. This is usually 12 to 15 centimeters. Also, as you can see, we start by using a basic apparatus with 2 clamps and a knot tying board. This will allow us to focus on learning the basic steps of knot tying without having to worry about videoscopic skills or even having to learn how to deal with the limited movements and extended length of laparoscopic instruments. After cutting the suture and driving the needle through the Penrose drain, we establish the correct starting position by pulling on the suture so that the tail is only 2 to 3 centimeters long. We then position the post strand to create a C. The image of the correct starting position should be embedded in your mind and in your pattern recognition system. We then start by forming 2 loops to create a surgeon's knot for the first knot. Next, we create a reverse C and then form a single loop to create and cinch down the second knot. From here on, we alternate back and forth for each knot. We can summarize the task in 5 simple steps. First, make a C. Second, create the loops. Third, move together. Fourth, when cinching down the knot, hold but don't pull the tail, especially on the first knot. And last, fifth, transfer the post strand to the other hand after each knot. Let's examine these steps in detail. The first step is to make a C. The orientation of the post in a C helps you then create the loop. Next, we move together. Moving both graspers is especially important to avoid unraveling the loop and also to avoid excessive pulling on the sutures. When cinching the first knot down, avoid pulling on the tail. You should use the tail to stabilize but pull on the post. By holding the tail stable, you avoid changing the relative length of the tail and the post strand, which is the critical component of the setup. Finally, transfer. Use both hands to transfer the post strand to the other hand. This is very similar to the tech transfer exercises that you are already familiar with. Now that you know the basics, please practice these steps using the simple apparatus at home. Next module will go over some pitfalls as well as some finer points. Thank you for watching.